If you're a creator and you sell, say, digital services, in this video, I'm gonna walk you through a pretty effective way of asking the budget question. So of course, if you are providing services, the conversation has to get to the point where you have to find out if they could pay you, right? Like, do they have the money to pay you? And also, do they have the willingness? Like, are they intending on paying you what you want to get paid? In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to ask. In the past, people would say, oh, you'll get to the point in the conversation where it's like, oh, so what's your budget? Now, the problem with that question is that on their end, they're thinking, all right, you're asking me this budget question. You haven't given me any prices yet. If I tell you that my budget is $1,000, you're most likely gonna send me a proposal for $1,000. That's how it goes, right? Like, that's how people think. And then you do this back and forth, and you typically don't get anywhere because on both ends, you wanna make the most and they wanna pay the least. This is a price battle, but it's not a battle of value. And I don't even want to say there's a battle of value. It's a price-based conversation, not a value-based conversation. So here's how you can switch it around. First and foremost, language needs to change. I don't say the word budget. I say the word allocation. Normally, whenever I'm talking about budget, I would normally say something along the lines of, what have you allocated towards these efforts? What do you allocate towards marketing? What do you allocate towards whatever? Now, here's one thing that you can do to create sort of a workaround, right? Let's say the scope of what you're proposing is, it's not something that people are investing in for the year. What you can do is you can ask budget-related questions, but for a longer period of time. So you could say, what do you normally allocate towards, say, marketing? What do you normally allocate towards marketing on a yearly basis? Like, within your business, you have your budget, right? Like, you have your allocations towards different things. What do you allocate towards marketing? How you doing? What that does for you, though, that gives you a perception or an understanding of whether or not they even budget. You got to know if they budget, right? Like, are they the type of person to say, hey, I know how much I have and I know how much I'm intending on investing in different things. If you're not speaking with a value-based business owner, you're gonna get into a battle. Let me turn around here because I think it's gonna get loud on that side. Now, again, that's one way. That's one thing to consider when you are asking about allocation and budget. Try to ask about the allocation on a broader sense, So you could do a broader sense from a time perspective, or you could do a broader sense from a scope perspective. So an example would be, like, let's say I'm looking to propose something around marketing. I would ask a question, so what do you normally allocate towards, like, all of your inbound efforts? All of your advertising, marketing, software and all that, like, what do you allocate towards everything? Now, the thing I'm looking to hear is, like, oh, okay, well, for everything, I allocate this amount. Now, when they say something, like, let's say they say, oh, I normally allocate about $20,000 towards marketing and stuff. Now, all of a sudden, if I know that what I'm proposing is a fraction of that, all I have to do is align what piece of the puzzle I fall into in that grander scope that they told me. So again, one way to identify their budget or their allocation is to ask questions around something a little bit broader than what you intend on proposing, right? First tip. Second tip here is ask about expectations. Ask about expectations. This is normally where I start because, again, I want to get to a value-based conversation as fast as possible, right? So I may say something along the lines of, so with these efforts, have you already calculated what you expect your return to be from these efforts? And now, again, like, let's say it's marketing, right? By asking the question, what are your expectations from this investment? You now have the ability to start to lean into, again, a value-based conversation. If someone says, I don't know, then you have work to do, right? You have work to do. If I'm looking to help someone with marketing or marketing software or with sales, if I ask them, like, what's your expectation, and they don't know, Now all of a sudden in my head, what is there to be excited about? I have to now help them get excited about something so that they're like, oh, well, man, I want to allocate as much as possible. You want to make sure you try to get to a value-based conversation as fast as possible, because if you're having a price-based conversation, things can always go south. I mean, there's no north to go. There's no value to pursue because they don't know what that looks like. You get to help them with identifying what that could potentially look like. So again, the way that you could phrase that is, based off of what you've allocated or what you intend on allocating towards these efforts, what does the return look like for you? What does the return look like for you? If you're going to allocate, say you're going to allocate a certain amount towards marketing or advertising or your website or whatever, what type of return, what does that look like for you? Now, here's the other thing that you can do when it comes to like having the allocation discussion, is to just throw numbers out there. Throw numbers out there. So you could say, like let's say someone has no clue how much they should spend on this. No clue how much they should spend. But you know that they should probably invest, let's say $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. You could then say, hey, let's say you were to invest $4,000 into these efforts. What would your expectation be from a return standpoint? Now, again, when you start to throw these numbers out and get them thinking about the return or the expectations on the other side of it, you could eventually get to a value-based conversation. I'm gonna keep saying value-based because it's really important. So I'm smelling grass and my allergies are gonna kill me. I have to walk this way. So this is the reason why I don't normally I don't walk around too much anymore, because I'm always like, it's either I'm walking away from landscapers, I'm walking away from traffic and sound, or I'm walking away from people. This whole walking thing gets tough. But hey, look, I hope that you got some value out of this. All right, again, it is good for you to know who you're talking to and what you're talking about. This conversation is important. If you want any more tips, I encourage you to join my Amplified Inbound community. Somewhere in the description, you're gonna find a link for you to check it out. There's a 7-day free trial. Even after the trial, if you're not okay with the value that you got from the community, hit me up. I have no problem either one, answering your questions, or two, making sure that you don't feel like you are at a loss with that investment. All right, so join the community. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you on the inside. Peace.